Hi, I'm AJ and welcome to my craft room. It is overcast, gloomy, and raining outside today, which means that fall is officially here. And if fall is here, then that means that Christmas is right around the corner. I've got a great Christmas decoration for you today. Baby food jar Christmas trees. Super simple to make. They make a fantastic addition to your home, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's get making baby food jar Christmas trees. I have all the supplies ready for today's project. Now there are two different size trees that I have made. The large size, which is 33 jars, 5 for the base and 28 for the actual tree, or the size that I'm going to make for you today is 20 baby food jars. Again, 5 for the base of the tree and 15 for the branches. You could go ahead and experiment and make something bigger if you wanted to go bigger. You just want to make sure that the base of your tree down the bottom is going to support however many jars that you're going to put on top. I think 35 is plenty big enough, and 20 is perfect for the size that we're going to make today. Now, if you're going to make the size 35 jar tree or 33 jar tree, that you can buy the 35 mini Christmas lights, which fit in perfectly. You have 2 left over, but that's okay. And you can always buy the 20 strand lights. I've used both the LED lights and the regular Christmas lights. And I've also used the battery operated lights if you're not going to put it somewhere where you have a plug. These work really well. Or you can set it on, a place that you're going to have access to power. And so the electrical lights work really well too. So I've used both. They both work great. And let's see what else we need. So we've got our baby food jars. Again, we're going to use the 20 jars today for the smaller tree. I need some glue. Now, remember, hot glue, glue gun hot glue, does not stay on glass. So you want to purchase some clear sealant that's going to work on glass. This is just a liquid nails tube of clear seal. It says it works on glass. It does. It just takes a little while to dry, but that's okay because we'll spread it over a few days of the project. Only takes a few minutes each day, and then this will be perfectly dry and ready for you to go. We need an awl, which is going to punch a hole in the back of our baby food jar so that the lights go through, and a hammer to punch our awl through. And we're going to need some tinsel to fill our jars with the color that you want. Now, my color combination today is going to be blue. I have some blue LED lights. These are actually battery operated that I'm going to set with the blue tinsel. As you saw before, you can use any colored combination. I've used multicolored lights using silver tinsel, which is absolutely beautiful, and red and white, green and white. You can, whatever color combination you want. Tinsel now comes in pretty much any color. You could do a beautiful purple tree, whatever you want that matches the decor in your home is going to be wonderful. So those are the supplies that I need. And so let's get making our baby food jar Christmas tree. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that all of the paper and dirt is off your baby food jar. You want them to be clean inside, clean on the outside, so that you don't have any packaging left on there. So run these through your dishwasher. Use some Goo Gone if you need to get off some extra stuff that is pretty stubborn and doesn't want to come off. So get your baby food jars ready to go. And then you want to match them by size. Make sure that they're all the same size. Height and diameter is what you're looking for. Now I have some that have a little bit of a trim, some that don't. You're not really going to see that inside. You're only going to see the front of the jar. So as long as the fronts look pretty similar, you're good to go. Now we're going to punch a hole in the back, in the top of each of the jars. And the reason that we're going to do that is that hole is where we're going to put the light through to keep the light shining through your jar. And so what you want to look at is the size of your light. Now today I'm using LED lights. Now you can see that that's pretty little. And so the hole that I need to punch in the top of my jar isn't going to be very big to stick that little light through. But that's using LED lights. If you're going to use the electric original lights that we all have lying around, you're going to want to punch that hole a little bit bigger. And so you can see that that is a lot bigger circumference than this one. So you just adjust when you're punching in your awl as to how big you want that hole. Now, I quite often get hammering away and punch that hole a little bit too big. And if that happens, that's okay. You can just use a little bit of tape on the back of your jar to secure that light cord so that it doesn't move. So now we're going to hammer a hole in every one of these jars. So a couple of hints when using the awl and the hammer. First of all, put it on a nice soft surface so that it's going to absorb some of the shock of their hammering into the top. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you don't push the awl through too far, because if you hit the bottom of the jar, it's going to chip the bottom of your jar and sometimes even break it. I know that because when I started using the awl and the hammer, I had a couple of accidents. So you want to make sure that you just go in as far as you need to. So you're just going to take your awl, and these can be purchased in any hardware store, and you're just going to place it in the middle of your jar, take your hammer, and we're just going to hammer through so that we have a nice hole. Okay, you can see that for this, I only need to go down about that far, and my little LED light is just going to fit nicely in like that. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. If I was going to be using the bigger lights that have the bigger circumference, then I'm going to take this awl and I'm just going to punch it further down so that I have a bigger hole, and then your light is going to go through there. But for today, I just need to go maybe an inch or so into my awl to get the size that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to punch holes in every one of these jars. Just like that. The hardest part of this project is over. Once you've got all the holes punched into the lids of your baby food jar, that's pretty much the strenuous part of the project. Now we're just going to be putting this tree together. Now, I'm one of those after Christmas shoppers. I go to the store, you know, those few days after Christmas to buy up all of the Christmas paper, all of the bows, the tags, the decorations for the following year. You get them at 75, even 90% off. Makes a great deal. So I go through and I also buy tinsel. I don't put tinsel on my Christmas tree, but I use tinsel a lot in making Christmas decorations. This is another example of getting a $4 or $5 roll of tinsel for probably about 40 cents after Christmas. So great deal, great tip to go get all your decorations. So now I'm just going to take off the lid of my jar. I'm going to cut a piece of tinsel, and you're going to get tinsel everywhere when you do this because you know that the tinsel is going to fly all over. And you're going to put it in your baby food jar. Now you can put as much tinsel or as little tinsel as you like. I like to put a little bit on the less side when I'm using LED lights because they're usually not quite as bright as the electric lights. If I'm using an electric light that plugs into the wall, I can use a lot more tinsel and fill it. But with an LED light, you're just going to want to have it so that you can see the tinsel, but it's not completely full. And so I'm just going to do that for every jar. I'm just going to cut a strip. I'm cutting, you know, somewhere between 2 and 3 inches in length. and just putting it in there and putting the lid back on. And I'm going to do that for all 20 jars. Our jars are filled with tinsel, and now they're ready to be glued together. Now the reason that I fill them with tinsel first and put the lids on it is because after you've glued these together, it's really hard to get the lids off, and if one of them is stuck, then it's just almost impossible to get the lid off, especially if it's in the middle of the tree. So we go ahead and we put the tinsel in first, we put the lids back on. Now we don't need to open these again. The other thing you want to be really careful of, especially if you have children around while you're doing that, is when you punch the hole in the lid of your jar, the inside is going to be very, very sharp. So make sure that kids aren't around while you're doing this and that you get those securely back on while they're not around, because you don't want them cutting their little fingers on that. That would not be good. And you want to be careful too. So now we're ready to start gluing. Again, I've just used a clear liquid nails that is specifically used for gluing glass together. You just read on the back and it says that you can use this for ceramic tile, glass, fiberglass. So we know that this is going to work. Remember that liquid nails does not dry very quickly. This is a project that's actually going to go over a few days from start to finish, but you're only going to be doing it for a few minutes every day. And so I would plan for four days or so to complete this project from start to finish. Making sure that each time you glue, you give that glue plenty of time to dry before going on to the next stage. You don't want to put your tree together and not have all the glue dry and then have it fall apart in the middle of the night. So that's why we're going to take about 4 days to put this together. So I'm going to take my jars and I'm going to arrange them in the order that I'm going to glue them. So I have a set of 3 and a set of 2, and that's going to be my base. Then I'm going to do a set of 5, a set of 4, 3, 2, and 1. And when I'm done, that's how my tree is going to be arranged. But we're going to do it all in steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the lid, cut the tip off my glue. You're not going to need a whole lot of glue when you're gluing these together. So you're just going to take the side, and I usually pick the side that if there's anything on there that I don't want showing, if I haven't cleaned my jar really well, if there's a little bit of glue or adhesive still on there, I need to cut that just a little bit bigger. And then I just want to take 1 bead of glue, the length of the jar, and then glue it to the next piece, and then take my last jar and glue that right there. And so there we have the first layer of our tree. Now I've glued these together like this, but in order for them to glue the way I want to, so that they're on the, see how it's level because it's on the table, I want to just flip those over like that so that it's also level horizontally. And this way, when I build my tree from the bottom up, there's not going to be any unlevel layers. So I glue them standing up to make sure that I've got all of the bottoms, which will be the front of the tree level, and then lay them over like this so that it's horizontally level. Now I'm just going to push that aside and let that dry. Now I'm going to go on to my next layer. Again, setting them on the table to make sure that it's level across the bottom, and then tipping them over so that it's horizontally level. Okay, we're all done gluing. I've glued the 3, the 2, the 5, 4, 3, and 2. We're ready to let this dry. I'm going to let this dry at least overnight, 24 hours. So I'm going to leave this on my table, and I'll come back tomorrow and we'll move on to step 2. Day 2 of our project, our baby food jars have been drying overnight. So as you can see, they're nice and bonded. And now it's time to put our layers together. I'm going to start with my group of 3, that's the base, and then my group of 2, which when standing up is going to look like this. Now I don't want to glue them in the upright position because they're going to, the weight is not going to keep them upright. So when I'm gluing this next section, I'm actually going to keep them on the table flat so that there's no way that they can fall, and we'll just glue them in the order that they go. And in the printed instructions, I have a little diagram in case you forget how they're going to go. So I'm just going to run a bead of glue across each jar where the jar above it is going to sit. So on the bottom group, I don't need to do glue on the outside of the jars because the jar is just going to sit right like that. Like that. And then we're going to just stand them up and make sure that they glue that way. And now I'm going to move on to the actual tree. So this is the trunk, and now we've got the tree. And again, I don't need to do the outsides of the end jars because we're making a pyramid up. So all I need to do is just run a quick bead of liquid nails, just like this, and set my group of 4 on top. I'm just going to turn it over that way. Make sure it's level across the front and do the next one. When my kids were very, very little, I made these Christmas trees with the baby food jars that they used as babies. So we would finish the jars and rinse them out and keep them, and when we had enough, I did Christmas trees for each of my children. Now that they are away at college, it's fun because they have their Christmas trees with them, and they get to use those in their apartments as their Christmas tree till they come home. Of course, at home we have the big tree, so they don't need a big tree in their apartment because they come home for Christmas every year. But it's been a nice addition for them in their apartment so that they can celebrate Christmas too. Okay, so I've got them all up. Now I'm just going to lay those down and then press them together and make sure that they're good. Now I'm going to glue the bottom section in where it goes. And on this one, you do want to do the outside of the jars because it's sitting underneath a longer row of jars. So we want to do 2 beads on each jar. Lay that down and glue it in. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to want to let this dry again at least overnight, 24. If you have 48 hours, that would be even better to make sure it's absolutely dry. You don't want to be standing it up, displaying it until you're sure that all of that glue is completely dry and that this is one solid piece. So we're just going to go ahead and let it dry again overnight, and then we can come back and put our lights in it, and it'll be all finished and ready for you. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow. Our Christmas tree has been drying for about 36 hours now, actually, and we're ready to go ahead and finish it off. You can see it's dry, it's perfectly flat on the front, and that's because we let it dry laying down on the tabletop. So that's a really good weapon to use, making sure that it's completely straight when you're letting it dry. So the back of the tree looks like this. It's just pretty flat with the baby food jars and our little holes in it. So we're ready to just put the lights in, and then we're ready to go. Now I've chosen to use LED lights. These are pretty much everywhere now. It's not like they're expensive anymore. You can find them everywhere. This set is also a battery operated set of LED lights. You can buy them that are plug-in to an outlet, and then you can also just get the regular electric lights. And I've just got myself all tangled up here. The only thing you want to make sure when you're making your jar is that you measure the size of your bulb so that it's going to go in to your hole in the back of the jar, the lid. So I'm going to start at the first one, the end that doesn't have the plug or the control unit battery pack, and I'm just going to start at the top and put one in and just work my way down the tree. It's actually easier if you do this with your tree laying down, but I'm going to do it standing up so that you can see how I do it. Now when you get to this point in putting the lights in, I don't want to come all the way across to here because I'm not going to have enough cord to go from this hole to this hole. So I'm going to start doing, I'm going to go into that middle one, and then I'm going to come down and go across the bottom and then back up the side. Now as you can see, I've got a 20 count set of lights, and so our last light is going to go right in there, and we're all done. Now as you can see, this bottom jar, I punched that hole too big, so my light doesn't want to stay in there. Now I'm going to push it in there and it's still going to pop out. So my solution to that is just take a little bit of tape, just regular Scotch tape, whatever you have, and I'm just going to put it over the back just like that, and that's going to secure that in place so that the light doesn't pop in and out of the jar. And if you have any other lights that you're thinking, wow, those really aren't staying in, you can just do the same thing for that. I'm actually going to secure the very top one because I want to make sure that that doesn't pop out. And that's going to take care of that just like that. So now my tree's all done. So I can turn it around and turn it on, and I have a beautiful Christmas tree. Now this color obviously is blue. I've done blue tinsel and blue lights. You can do whatever color you want, whatever color matches your decor, and you're ready to go. I hope you enjoy this baby food jar Christmas tree. It's so easy to make and so much fun. Your kids are going to love it. You're going to love it. Your friends are going to love it. I am really glad to be able to share this craft with you, and I will see you next month at AJ's Craft Room.